should have faded in.
Oh,
Too
well.
late.
Welcome to the post-show
Post show
party.
doesn't need good production.
No, it doesn't.
It's the behind the scenes
Yep.
real look at how we just sit on the couch and eat pizza.
Yeah. So instead of just bullshitting for 40 minutes, let's just talk about the
Jump
episode.
right in.
All right. I liked it.
Yeah, just general. Let's just do general impressions.
That's it. It was fun.
Yeah,
I
that was
liked
good.
it.
I think we somehow bumbled into the actual intended solution, is what it felt like to me.
I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
did design it to like have a pretty.
I was
obvious-
idiot proof.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it.
It was more like, you know, only you could be up there doing the
Right.
doing
We
this thing.
tailored it to our
I made
characters.
sure like it gave you something to do, and then it's like, okay, Fiero can be doing his thing. If you want to go sneak around killing demons or like trying to find who's in charge or disguising and like looking for information or like whatever it is, it's up to you.
Whatever.
And you went around and basically did that. You got to the main guy. You didn't assassinate him, but I mean, you guys kind of did bumble. That's a good way to put it. You bumbled your way into the solution.
Yeah.
Lots of fumbled rolls. Just exclusively use this die roller because it uses it uses dice from random.org.
Which are apparently completely random.
Well, it uses atmospheric noise, I think. So we just use this.
That thing has also betrayed me, as it did right now.
Look at that. Can't
Okay,
write that.
sorry, teal dice does not.
You can't fight fate. That's what I've learned. I'm destined to immediate and harsh failure when it comes to role-playing games.
I think I watched that show. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think of I don't know, I guess the general concept of the episode, like having
About the
having
shows
like
in general.
this episode of having like a contained area
Yeah.
for you to like do stuff in with like a clear goal.
I felt in a lot of ways that this harkened back to the first episode of the show.
It did. It was deliberate.
Yeah. The difference being that the first episode of the show for me felt a lot like, let me try to do something and then have it not work out in as many ways as possible, where it was just like, I don't know the rules for this, it's not working, I rolled badly, it's not working, there are dire consequences and they keep setting me back.
I got tortured a couple times.
Yeah, in this scenario, whether it's from our experience as a group or just the experience of the characters being stronger and thus giving me more options, it was a much more enjoyable experience than the first episode was. Even though I still have like a stupid number of failures, it felt more like responsive, I guess, that like there were chances for me to save myself and like not have things just go catastrophically wrong. So
Yeah, I feel
Much
like
improved.
I turned you guys off from playing into to play more risky than you have been because you've got numbers on your side like you
At
did
this
before.
point, yeah.
yeah, I think part of that for me is that I'm used to, in the similar games to this that are copyright infringing on our, whatever.
Well,
My
we can talk
experience-
about having played
Mazes and
games. That's
monsters.
Yes, my experience has been, and my experience in designing campaigns has been that in each scenario, you want to challenge the players with some new creature or experience such that if they perform well, they will have a close success.
Mm.
And if they perform poorly, there is substantial risk that things will be lethal. So I'm really used to, oh, okay, we walked into this dungeon and like I've never seen this monster before, but it's big, and I'm willing to bet that my stats will allow me to beat this monster if I'm careful. So yeah, I think the concept of standard enemies in this game like really throws me off because I assume that each enemy is like capable of fighting me. That I'm not just gonna shank half of them.
In this case, you're into like the lower range of the mid level where you start to get like good powers.
Yeah.
and I mean uh, you can get knife supremacy pretty early on if you like focus on it.
Yeah.
But that's like a fairly limited sort of ability, and that's like sort of the kind of thing you have to design around a bit. I think the big reason why standard characters seem so weak to you guys is not even really them being standard. It's that you guys have this like ridiculous armor that makes it very difficult for you to do anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, beyond like trying to sunder the armor and then get to you, that would take a long time. Uh, they don't have a whole lot of options. They have to dig into like the other, which is actually kind of a limitation that I like. They have to dig into the other.
I don't mind that standard characters are weak. I like for me, it doesn't click in my head how weak they are.
Right. Well, think of it like some silly action movie where you mow down hordes, and then you get to like the boss.
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain my process for why I play so cautiously. Is that I'm used to like here is an ogre, and I think I don't know what the stats for an ogre are, but I bet that it could kill me.
Rewarding cautious play more so than what we were doing.
Yeah. So that I mean,
and that is the legacy of D&D and
Labyrinths and Wizards.
Is this idea of
make a version called Labyrinths and Lay People,
like hyper lethality. There's a great great parody of D&D about that sort of thing that I should show you guys later. But on the topic of lethality, if you guys had spent like one more round up on that roof, those demons were gonna try to do is grab one of you guys like together, like grab you and throw you off.
Ooh, that would have been good. It's like I can't get through your armor, so I'm just gonna throw you off a cliff.
Well, and the other thing is, and I think I might have talked about this before, is that the consequences in role playing games for risky play are usually very, very high. So for us, let me talk previously about what I've experienced.
Damage.
Probably
pretty good, yeah.
And also you have fatal falls.
Yes.
Which is +1 damage per die, so 41, and damage gains keen 20. So you'd be rolling you'd be probably close to
break
dead.
that fall.
You'd be you'd also be rolling a serious injury on an injuries table. But go ahead, Sam. I interrupted to do that.
In my what's the
Experience?
Puzzles and warlocks experience.
Now we're just putting
just any two
together.
combinations of like a test and a magic user.
Our apples and wizards.
Yeah. Apples and aesthetics. But has been that like
engineers.
Okay, when we play risky and our characters get killed, the story is now over. I mean, I know that in some groups you would just be, you just roll a new character, maybe even a clone of your previous character.
Right.
But
So
I've always
groups. What groups?
Yeah, I've always played in the past that like when these characters die, that is when that is an end to the story. We will stop playing this game and we will find a different one. Because it's just it's demoralizing. Like I don't want to roll a clone of my character and just say like, oh, it didn't happen. Like no, I spent all this time and energy. This dude's dead. I don't want to go back to it. And so, in our experience, we haven't had that. But the infinite cycle of torturing was pretty stats damaging.
Yeah.
We got
part of the reason I wanted to do that was to demonstrate the mechanics.
Yeah.
And also to start you guys from like rock bottom. So you can build yourselves up. But I think the problem is I haven't done enough I think that the issue is to try to build you up. I've given you stuff as opposed to like giving you challenges that you are able to meet.
Yeah.
This time though, I think I did that better.
Yeah, I think it worked. I think comparing this to the first scenario, this felt like at least 10 times better.
And we were in control.
Yeah.
I think we're getting towards Monty Hall, but that's when you have a whole bunch of really good stuff in D&D. In,
you threw me for a second because
in-
there's a campaign quality called Monty Hall.
yeah, which it's probably based on the same thing.
Oh yeah.
In Wall,
What?
the things that are no bigger than a Womp Rat. Is it Womp Rats? Okay, Womp Rats and walls surrounding you. When you get a whole bunch of equipment that's really good, and then suddenly it's like, some of this challenge is trivial. I was thinking of a weird animal.
Yeah,
That's
fantasy.
a weird animal.
Yeah. Not that you ever saw one, or you did, and I didn't know, and I don't like Star Wars, so whatever.
Great dragons and conundrums.
Yeah, there you go.
Temples and turtles.
Yeah, you guys are much better at this than I am.
You just gotta think.
Okay, I don't remember what your point was before
My
you started
point
doing
was we got some good equipment, and it trivializes some of the stuff we were having a problem with before.
that. Right. And yeah, it's interesting. The encounters that I've been doing with you guys, or the adventures I've been doing with you guys, have been primarily within civilization. And the stuff you've got now pretty well outpaces, not just your gear, but your character stats. Pretty well outpaces the things that characters up to like levels 4 to 6 would have. And that's sort of like the range of level that I put everything that's like part of normal civilization at.
Right.
So yeah, you're gonna start, and that's part of why I wanted to get you guys into the planar travel, is because we need to get to like weirder stuff. And coming back to a second season, I would want us to be going around the different planes and going into like those caves that you built in the world building process, where there's like, deep dark monsters and horrors and stuff in there. I mean, that's very vague.
Also, and the final episode is the Cult of Collision wins, everything's done.
I think that that Cult of Collision plot would be a very good like subplot in like the fourth season or something, like coming around to the end of the story. Because like third season would be like, we're gonna defeat, spoiler alert, we're gonna defeat Pride, the embodiment of the sin of pride.
What?
That's the goal, is we're gonna defeat Pride, and then sort of start cleaning up after that and taking down more of the syndicate. And that would be something we do with like the back end. Once you guys have, like are in the late game, the like really high level play, and you're just like knocking everything down left and right.
Or Cult of Collision wins. Everybody realized that was the best now. They're a very not complex, not really entertaining.
A total not rip off of, I'm trying to think of a clever spin on the title, but go ahead, it'll come to me.
Okay, yeah. I think they work well. It's just some kind of side villain to kind of distract you or work with somebody.
Or just not distract you, but like,
you
pose a problem.
Pose a problem, and you have to beat them, but not like there's no emotional thing. These guys are just crazy. So,
I mean, that works for me.
That works for some villains.
Works for like 90% of comic books.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I want to destroy the world.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know. Do we have anything else to discuss about this episode? We've been going off track.
No, we're talking about like beyond this and gone to season 4. So
yeah, not super really. I mean, this episode took way too long.
Yes,
we all know that.
I'm sorry about that.
It's not your fault.
It kind of is.
I mean, it's everyone's fault. I don't think you can just like blame one person for it.
It's my fault.
Well, here's the question though: was it fun to play?
Yeah.
Mostly.
I think that's something that we're not putting enough emphasis on.
Yeah. Wait, why would anybody care?
We're always like, whenever we talk about this stuff, it's like, how do we get it within the time frame, and how do we like make it presentable and stuff?
Bring these buzzwords up.
I think I think that the smarter approach is to. I've been like, as you can see, I've updated our layout and added stuff to work on like production stuff like that over time. Yeah. And make it so that the process is as streamlined as possible. So that basically, and like Sam, you said this before, like what would be best if it's just like we get together, we sit down, we play the game, and leave the stuff running, and that's like the ideal format. And I think that we're sort of heading in that direction. And I'll pose this question: what do you guys think about? I guess being maybe more relaxed about the pace like that, and saying like let's do what feels more like what we want to do right now, as opposed to like what's going to do a good episode,
Yeah.
and then splitting it up according to that.
That would work. I would feel comfortable doing that. I think it would be more fun because there are when we're doing it so strictly to time, there are honestly points for me where I'm like, okay, this is going on super long, and like we're not doing anything right this second. So like I'm just kind of waiting until we get to the next like important thing to do, so that we can like speed through it a little bit.
And we missed having a silly conversation with a guard or something like that.
Right. I think in order to make a more relaxed and like fun-loving pace work, we probably would need to go back to what you were suggesting of like making each episode just like less content. Just
like a scene instead of an episode, or maybe a couple scenes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Instead of an adventure.
Right. And just generally like shooting for smaller chunks of content. Because I think that playing more relaxed and more for fun is going to lead to more tomfoolery, which is fine.
Well, it also, I mean, it's more fun
Yeah.
for us generally, and I think anytime somebody like is what we're doing like is a performance in a sense.
Yeah.
Watching people have fun
Oh, it's way
is
better.
what much better than us being like all technical and be like, okay, well we gotta hit this mark and be like, this scene's 20 minutes, this scene's 20 minutes. Here's this like perfectly timed story arc, and it's being like cold and clinical instead of us like kind of freewheeling it.
Like what we did in our last campaign before this, how we did that
where it was like that was like a mix of where it was like a mix of like, okay, here's a story that I've sort of planned, and let's see how you guys do it, and it's more or less linear, and you're kind of messing around on the side,
right?
And then episodes where it's just, okay, you're in the town, what do you do?
Right.
And it's just like, we're gonna go see what they're doing over here at this place. I'm gonna go cause trouble, get in the fight. I'm gonna go do like.
Right.
I think that is something that we haven't had really on the show, except maybe this episode, I guess, where there's been more like you've got this environment that you can play around in, and I think you're right that's more in the spirit of this game, how this stuff is supposed to work.
Cats and
cradles.
Cats and cradles.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two approaches that could work. One of them is like, and I'm being polarizing on purpose here. One of them is like, throw out the plan, throw out the script. Let's just like play a game, and I think that's good. I think the danger in that is that like we never get around to any content of like a serious nature, and each episode is like 12 hours long because we're just screwing around.
Well, that's I think the larger question there would be something that comes once we're done with the season and I start trying to market this and get eyeballs on it, would be figuring out what it is people respond to.
Right.
Because if people are more like, and I would imagine there's probably a mixture. There's people who are interested in the mechanics and want to see examples of play, and for that audience, maybe even like a scripted story would be better, because then it's like it sticks to it and it hits the points, because the idea is to communicate in addition to being entertaining. Whereas there's other people who just want to like sit back and watch some goofballs goof around and play a game with the game is like an excuse.
Right.
That. Like it's just like the thing with lots of personality-driven podcasts where people
you just want
to like respond to stuff as like this is a premise for us to talk and riff on something.
This is funny, or like these personalities. It doesn't really matter what they're doing.
I guess the other approach that is also polarizing is to say we're going to shoot the show in blank time slot, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever you like, and then just not care as much as if we hit the beats.
Right.
So
yeah. That's
we
just
can
something
just
to think about.
we can just say, okay, so in this adventure, we're going to try to get here. We're going to sit down and play for 2 hours.
And then we're
And
done.
wherever we get at 2 hours, we're going to say, fade to black, there's the cliffhanger. And if we don't open the portal, then we'll get back to it. If we're in the middle of a conversation with somebody, we'll get back to it. So, I mean, that's another way to sort of throw out the scripting and just say, you know, here's where we're going. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, actually, you know, I think that's a good idea, but I'm going to build on it and see if this is better. Like you gave 2 hours as an example.
Right.
So if 2 hours is, we're talking in like proportions here.
Right.
If 2 hours is what we're working with, let's say 2 hours is like as much as we're willing to go in this episode.
Right.
And then set at the hour 30-minute mark a point where we're going to stop and say, okay, what's ahead of us? Can we resolve it
Right.
within 30 minutes?
Right.
If not, well, if what we're on right now can't be resolved, and then we move on to the next thing and resolve it before we hit 2 hours, let's just finish what we're on so that we hit somewhere between, you know, this mark and this mark.
Right.
And that way, you know, it's more flexible because it'd be like, maybe some shows are like, maybe it's more realistic to say like 1 hour out of the two.
Right.
So maybe some shows are like an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
Maybe some are an hour and 45 minutes. But it's like, okay, how long is the next thing going to take us, do we think?
Yeah.
And if it's going to push 2 hours, let's stop once we're done with what we're doing.
Yeah. For me, I think that's a really natural pace because that's how, I mean, when we used to play, it used to just be like, we're just going to play all day and like whatever happens, whatever. But I think.
Let's sit down for 8 hours.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that.
Case of Mountain Dew,
Bag of
box
Cheetos.
of pizza
whatever.
rolls,
Yeah, pizza
Cheetos,
rolls.
and we'll just
But
figure it out.
usually when I make plans to do things now, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the movies for 3 hours.
Right.
And then when I'm done, I'm going to go home and do something else. And I just find that I have more fun that way when I can like block out my day and say like, this 2 hours is for this game.
Right.
Like I'm going to go do this.
I guess we don't just have like entire days where like I have nothing to do.
No, unfortunately not. Also, it's just not like good show design at all.
Well, exactly.
It's also, you get, like, every time that we had those long sessions, I mean, even this kind of length fatigue sets in.
Yeah.
But when you're, like, playing D&D for, like, 8 hours,
Yeah.
Well, you can call that playing.
Usually, like halfway
Playing.
through, it devolved into like, what are we doing? I don't know. You want to just like go tickle a Remoraz or something? Yeah, sure. Let's go.
I'm going to pickpocket this guy.
Okay, exactly.
But that's what you do when you're playing Balrogs and
Balrogs and
Beaches.
beaver hats.
yeah.
Actually, quick aside on that note of fighting random monsters, I had an idea. I'll run by you guys. A book, and it's not here, that I'm trying to fill up with monsters, fantasy craft monsters, pre-leveled, so that you open up to any page in the book and you've got 2 pages with stats and information. So like go into it, you could just like riff and do a completely improvised, well, maybe like the setup you might want to. I could throw together pieces and make a little dungeon, but like you just open up to any page and it's like, here's a monster, and have it like be various levels, all different themes and stuff.
So you could just do a basic kick in the door like mystery box thing, where you're like, go in this room. There's a rust monster, or there's an owl there. You know, what you gonna do? It's always fun.
Just as something I'm thinking be a fun thing I'm just working on a little bit in the background.
And you know, just the best part of elephants and elevators.
Yeah.
Eels and escalators.
Eels and escalators. Anyway.
If you roll eels again, you lose.
Wow. Dolphin noise. Is monster variety and stuff like that. So I like monsters. I think we were talking about this when we were fighting the gelatinous cube. It's like I was just this magical, it's a there you go. It's a piece of Jello, but it's a monster and it dissolves you and it's in dungeons and it's awesome. With the thing and the circles in the middle.
Actually,
No, it's not like that. It reminded me of something, but it's not.
It's Tesseract.
Yeah, it's Tesseract.
Oh no.
Oh, geez, I didn't know I could do that.
Or like, what's the big monster in D&D?
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Tarrasque?
The Trask, yeah. I ran out of other rhyming words or just not the same. Like, just having like this gigantic monster where you're like, how do you beat it? Well, you don't beat a Trask
Yeah.
unless you cheat. But
There's actually a very efficient exploit to beat the Tarrasque.
yeah, I mean, I've seen ways you can like beat it in one turn, but at that point, you're just building your character to be a Tarrasque. And what if your DM never makes a Tarrasque?
Then you're screwed.
That's
An arms race,
yeah.
a Tarrasque race,
Yeah.
Tarrasque.
Yeah, that was like the Cold War. And one side was like, oh, never mind.
Gotcha.
Zing. Zing.
I think that about does. I think that's about all the
Yeah,
commentary.
I have nothing I'm trying to
Yeah, we're
say.
kind of
I'm just saying
riffing now.
Tarrasques
Yeah.
are cool.
I just wanted to
love
give you guys
this
the opportunity to talk about your
Beholders
stuff.
for life.
That's one of the things I want to throw at you guys as a beholder,
Please no.
because well, first we need to get to not the Underdark. We need to get to those caves that you made, because that's where they live for sure.
Yes, the below shadow. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I have with all like the craft
Sorry,
kind of stuff that I'm doing.
Chinese knockout of D&D. Like the words make no sense, but they kind of sound
yeah.
like Happy Obama Dragon something.
Yeah.
But I have with the like crafting stuff and with the homebrew for the mechanics. I've got a really sick idea for a beholder type fight. Or it would work for something like a Kraken too. But I'm not going to spoil it because it's going to be too cool when you guys see it.
Well, that's a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Goodbye, internet.
Enjoy souped up beholder fights.
Yeah.
I like beholders.
Next season on Tabletop Bogcast.
12 seasons.
The
from
Pride
now.
of Pandemonium. So goodbye, everybody.